Music play, let the pages unwind. Spice on our tongues, all the trouble we find. We're kissing and killing in kingdoms we crave, falling for monsters we swear we'll never say. We're the Scribe Wives of HRI, reading too late but we're still gonna dive into blades and beds and bargains at night. If he's morally gray then he's probably right. Scribe Wives of HRI, turn up the heat, let the dragons fly. Fantasy, smile, and the dark in his eyes. Yeah, we read it all and we never apologize. Curses and crowns, all the vows that they break. We're raiding the ruin, every risk that they take. Laugh through the trauma, then gasp at the twist. Highlighting lines that our mothers would blacklist. Scribe Wives of HRI, reading too late but we're still gonna dive into blades and beds and bargains at night. If he's morally gray then he's probably right. Scribe Wives of HRI, turn up the heat, let the dragons fly. Fantasy, slow, and the dark in his eyes. Yeah, we read it all and we never apologize. Open the book, pour the tea, pour the wine. Scribe Wives of HRI. It's gonna be a wild time. Hey!
What's wrong? It's always myth.
But does he really matter?
He can hear you beside, right?
Well, if he couldn't
Come
hear me
on,
over
man.
the stream.
Do you have Discord?
Yeah, I had Discord, but my mic was set to default, not my actual mic.
I hate it when that happens.
Apparently that's what it was. So this should be fun. And of course, technical difficulties like always.
Duh.
So we are deep diving into a story that lives up to its name, Shadows So Cruel.
This is not a cozy fantasy. It is a world where mentally. Oh, I don't know where I am here. Just keep going.
It's you. Hey, let's rewind. Back to the beginning.
I don't know where I am, and I skipped a page.
We're going back to the beginning.
Oh, yes, we will redo this. It's okay, it's okay. Just deep breaths. Welcome back to Scribe Wives of HRI, a Bookish podcast, where we are deep diving into a story that lives up to its names. Shadows So Cruel.
This is not a cozy fantasy. This is a world where mortality bends, power corrupts, and survival often demands many sacrifices. And whether you've read it or you're just here for the vibes, we're going to break it all down: story, characters, themes, and the moments that made us sit there like, wait, what did I just frickin' read?
Yes. So we're going to talk about the book overview. We are going to mention trigger warnings. That's why it's nice big letters here, because if we thought the triggers are rough and feathers so vicious, Shadow So Cruel has even more. So if this is not something that is in your wheelhouse, or maybe your mental health isn't where it could potentially be to handle these trigger warnings, this might not be the episode for you. So let's break down the book overview. Luna, you want to tell them what it's about?
Yeah, that sounds fun for me. So, Shadow So Cruel is the second book to the Ravens duology. Is that how you say it? Duology. Last time we talked about Feather So Vicious. This time we're talking about Shadow So Cruel. It's a dark fantasy romance that drops you into a brutal yet power-driven world where survival is everything and mortality is, well, let's just say it's flexible at its best. At the center,
Agreed.
at the center you have Galantia, our FMC, female main character, who starts in a position of vulnerability and captivity. This time, she's forced to navigate a world dominated by dangerous, powerful men. I guess she did that last time. Especially Mailer, always will be Mailer in my eyes, and Sebian, who both represent different types of control, danger, and emotional conflict. The story is driven by power struggles, physically, emotionally, and politically, shifting alliances, survival under manipulation and control, a very dark, tension heavy romance, and it's less about good versus evil and more about who survives and what they become in order to do it. So, Kat, you want to talk about the tone?
Yes, so you mentioned it briefly. The tone, very dark, very trauma heavy. Um, very heavy on on both of those. Um, it did keep with the expectations of the first book in terms of the emotional, devastating roller coaster that we call this book. Even more so than if you thought Feather So Vicious was going to be emotionally devastating. Jumping into this book was even worse. Let's just say I threw my phone a couple of times. Luckily, it was on the bed because otherwise I would have needed a new phone. Um, and if it had been a physical copy, there probably would have been tear stains on it from crying. Because I will admit,
Yes.
I cried a lot through this whole book. Like,
Yes. Yeah. So actually, my one of my other friends read it the same time. Well, after I had read it, we started it around the same time, and then she was audiobooking it. Well, she was listening to it on Spotify. She had to stop. She had to finish the last 5 chapters physically, like, reading it because she could not get herself mentally stable enough to, listen to the ending. And she loves it whenever I ruin endings for her, so I had already told her what was happening, but, like, it's dark.
yes, and we will get into that later on because we don't want to do any spoilers yet. Not on the overview. Yeah, I could see why she couldn't do it over Spotify. I struggled like those last 5 chapters. I think I had to break them down into a couple of days because it was just so devastating and so emotionally packed that I had to take time to just walk away and breathe just to get my mental health a little bit
For
there
sure,
to
for
push
sure.
through. Um, yes, Lindsay did keep up with your expectations from the first, from Feather So Vicious, and continuing with how she emotionally devastated us.
Yeah, it absolutely did.
So, what do you think the stakes were in terms of like the personal stakes of everyone and overall in the world? Because, like we mentioned, this was a political, there was some politics involved in this.
I mean, I feel like the world is definitely super harsh and it's power obsessed. Like everybody in the book is power hungry except for Galantia and Sebian, I guess. But like it's crazy the way that they have that hierarchy done. Um, you know, I want to say you have Galantia who what in the first book, like the soldiers come to she thinks they're coming to get her back, but her dad basically sells her,
Yeah. And of course, her
you
mom
know?
didn't help by keeping her in this little tiny box and her just getting kidnapped. And all of a sudden, she's just like, what is this world? Like you said, the world is harsh, and it depends on if you're a human or a raven on how harsh it actually is towards you. I would say it's very unforgiving as well. Like if you're a raven, you're done. That's it. You're not considered human anymore. Like that world, just reading through these scenes of just push and pull of political views, um, made it some of it a little unbearable for me to push, like get through reading, because you're reading about war, you're reading about them dehumanizing these people just because they're ravens.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at her personal stakes that she has, her personal stakes, she has her autonomy, like what is that? Like your being, like your personality, your identity,
Mm-hmm.
and just surviving in general. The world it's big and everybody wants control. Um, and there's always the shifting power from back and forth.
Yeah, I would say Galantia is definitely the biggest pawn in this political triangle thing. Okay. Do we want to give the complete trigger warnings now before we jump more into the book?
100%
Yeah.
I would do that before we get any further in.
Okay, so we did touch briefly on these in the last podcast, but we're gonna rename them. So there is, when we say trauma, we're talking about um, rape and childhood abuse, of being child prisoners of war, just a lot of violence. What else could we name in this? I'm drawing a blank on the rest of it.
I was like trying to think. I mean, you have to look at it doesn't matter what part of the book we even talk about. Um you've got rape, you've got just the in general treatment of women or of anyone. Just be mindful that when we talk about everything. We don't really leave anything up for guessing. And if it feels too heavy or you're listening to it and it feels too heavy, um, come back another time. Um, you've got trauma and abuse, power imbalance dynamics, emotional distress and manipulation, captivity and control, and the morally gray toxic relationships. So, as always, viewer discretion is advised, and we ask you to please take care of yourself.
Yes, so let's go into tones and themes. Lindsay, did you able to sort through your notes?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you able to sort through your notes for the tones and themes? I think this is a perfect one for you to take the lead on, of distinguishing all of these themes that we have.
It's been a week, y'all. It's been a week. Bear with us
Yeah.
as we just try to keep our thoughts in our heads and everything together.
Yeah, I
It's
don't have that at this moment, please.
yeah. No. You are
All
good.
good.
You are good. You just jump in whatever you got. Like, no shame. No shame at all.
So I would say I'm gonna leave the trust and betrayal for after to lead into like the character building. I think that's perfect. But the power versus vulnerability. It was a push and pull with that. It was always power, power, power for it seemed like Malar, Galantia's dad, and then her ex fiance. Um, they were all power hungry. And then here's Galantia who gets thrust into this world of power and she's so vulnerable. She just I wish there was more vulnerability from like the men. And in terms of just not being so power hungry.
I think that though that in book 2 we expand into Mailer's background more and we hear about how spoiler, am I allowed to talk about spoilers? Um
A small
are we
one.
there yet? Are we there yet? Okay. Small oh gosh, small. But in the second book we learn about where his darkness comes from. And we learn why he finds himself incapable of love, I guess. Um, and so he does have a lot of vulnerable moments. The first book kind of made me not like him, and I was definitely more team Sabian, but the second book I was definitely team Mailer, and it was because of certain moments in the book that just crushed me as we read and whatnot. And even with Sabian, we have vulnerable I can't speak vulnerability, um, especially when it comes towards, secrets that he lets Galantia in on whenever it comes to his bond, and others that are in the book and his relationship with others and even the last 1/4 of the book, where all the emotional stuff happens. I think that it's a good mix of her vulnerability, but also their vulnerability as well. I think it
Right.
depends on how you take it and how you see it, to realize that in some of these moments they're being very vulnerable with her.
That is very true. Especially like Malar does grow more. Like you said, I was rooting for Sebian because I was like, this dude, like Malar is just being so cruel to her. Um, and then all of a sudden he just does this like 180 because he finds out she's actually a raven. And I'm just like, you were fighting it this whole time, wanting to break her. And now all of a sudden you're just like, oh my goodness, she's one of us. Now I'm going to push through these feelings and sort them out and realize that she wasn't my problem in the first place, just a result of what happened during childhood. Um, which power versus vulnerability kind of leads us into survival versus humanity. They're all surviving. Like at this point, it's all about survival, just trying to, Malar's this young prince who's trying to just have his clan, I guess you'd call the Ravens, court, um, just be there. Like he he's just trying to be a king, like just to get his people to live in this world. And it is all about survival. Like he's had to survive from a very young age, from his parents dying, like his whole family dying, to what resulted in when he was a prisoner, to leading it. Like through his whole book, it shows that he's surviving till like that quarter, probably about halfway through the book. I'd say is when you get to see more of his humane side, not um
I understood what you were saying.
It's hard to say humane society. I was just like, that's probably not what I should say with the whole.
I mean, they are ravens, so really.
Yeah. But like you get to see more of that softer side of him as he progresses. Like his and I don't want to say too much because it's supposed to be talking about the next one, but like he really grows from being like in survival mode to being able to not always be on edge, not always being the prince. He can now be like a young man and find out that he can be happy and still do his duties to his court.
Oh, yeah, and it's also a do I stay good or do I continue to be bad sort of mentality there with the humanity. Um, and you always wonder, like, as they're going into battles, as the story's progressing through, okay, who's gonna die this time around?
Yeah, she had no issues killing people off, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was not one of those, okay, don't get comfortable with this character because they're going to die in sentence number 5.
Right? Like, there were some that I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe they died. And then there were others that I was just like woohooing, like, you know, Miss Lorne over here. Because I was like,
Listen.
she.
She's a Joffrey equivalent.
Felt so bad in a sense, but at the same time, I was like, I guess we can't have this character progression if this didn't happen.
I mean, I can kind of see why without giving spoilers. Here's some little foreshadowing as to why she had to die for the rest of the book to happen. Kind of makes sense, but
Yeah.
that now leads us into control and manipulation.
There's no control and manipulation in this book.
None at all.
No.
Lindsay, would you like to tell us how there's no control and manipulation in this book? I think we lost Lindsay.
We have 5 seconds of an ad break.
Oh. I thought I changed those ads to be every 3 minutes or something.
Girl, they are not every 3 minutes. They're like every 30 seconds, it seems.
Gross.
That's okay. It'd be okay. It'd be okay. What are we talking about? We're talking about control and manipulation. Well, there's definitely a power imbalance in the book. I mean, even between Raven and Raven, right? You got Asker, who he only holds like this much power. Sebian holds a little bit underneath of him, I would say. And then you've got Mailer, who's like way up here.
Yeah. He kind of reminds me of the. I'll take it into consideration, but more than likely your idea sucks, and I'm not gonna go with it. Like, he's doing everything behind people's backs, including his best friend. And then got mad at Sebian when Sebian figured out, like,
What was going on?
yeah. And I'm like, did you want a dumb friend? Do you like that you have a smart friend? Or is it the fact that you got caught and you knew he wouldn't approve was the biggest thing? Yeah, Maylard just doesn't seem to have any consideration except for what he wants to do, and that's just not a good mindset to have, especially as a prince. It needs to be what needs to happen for your court, not just for you for revenge.
Except no one knows that it's for revenge until it's too late.
Yeah.
That's usually how it works.
Hey, you're rocking the Pepsi too!
I am Cherry Pepsi.
Heck
Rage.
yeah! Good time. This is not a sponsor, by the way. Although.
But if it was, cherry Pepsi, it's the best.
Yes, she has the full sugar. I have the zero sugar because,
They didn't have zero sugar.
although I will say, little side note, Pepsi does have really good zero sugar.
They do. You're not wrong.
So yes, back to our podcast. I kind of got off track on that. Trust and betrayal. There is a lot of it. There is, and by a lot I mean betrayal. I don't see a lot of trust even in this book until like the very end when everyone's finally getting their act together, which I guess climatic wise is good. But it's just like betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. Most of it is by Malir. But even like Sebian betrays Galantia a little bit in terms of with his bond. You know, he's never gonna love her like she should be loved because Raven's bond, and it can be very painful if a bond dies, and that bond is for life. So even he showed some betrayal towards Galantia. But most of it was because of Malir, however people want to say
However your heart desires.
it. So he'd be the type that'd be like, "This is how you say my name."
Nah, he would be. He would actually probably already killed me or chopped off some of my body limbs because I said his name wrong.
Yeah, yeah. He'd be like, "Oh, you're dissing me because I," and he'd be the one that'd be like, "Oh, you're dissing me because I'm a raven." Be like, "No, I didn't know how to say your name because it's weird."
Exactly. Hello. The author doesn't explain how to say it.
No, and then you get pronunciations from Audible, Spotify, YouTube. They all say it differently.
Yeah. How do they know they're saying it right?
Yeah. And yeah, she did. I would have loved if the author had put like a little way to put people's names, how to say them, like the pronunciation table would have been very helpful.
Absolutely, it would have.
And since we're making fun of him, let's go into character building. And this is where we get spoilers.
Since we're going, we're gonna talk about him. Oh,
How else
gosh.
am I supposed to transition? That's a good
You're
way
not-
to transition.
You're not wrong.
And see, we got Lindsay who gets to be Malar this time since I was Malar last time.
I mean, I couldn't get those frames to change no matter how hard I tried last podcast. Like,
Yes, but now we get to do some spoilers. This is just some spoilers. But I would say who had the most growth in the book? Lindsay.
I mean, we definitely know who had the hardest growth.
Yes. Yes. I would say the least person to grow out of the three was definitely Sebian. Because he didn't really have much to grow on. He wasn't as trauma heavy of a character as the other two. In terms of like how his life was, like he wasn't a prisoner. Yes, his mate died, and yes, she was pregnant. And like her dad, Asker, did not like him for it because he thought he was, drinking, and turns out he was just getting her food. So I think he had the least amount of growth out of the three, just because he didn't have to overcome as much as Galantia and Malar, however. So that's my opinion. I don't know if you guys have the same opinion.
I definitely think if we're talking about the three of them, he 100% had the least amount of growth. Um, but I think that it's because of the way the book is set up. So, I want to say that the one for me that had the most character growth is probably Mailer. He he finds his mate. I'm gonna spoil things, because it's allowed. But you learn more about his background. So his actions further into the book are, I don't want to say that they're justified because I don't feel like the abusive, manipulative behavior is justified in any way. But his shadows, we learn they're actually a curse. He has shadows that have been passed down from generation to generation from someone who stole them. A thief had stole them. And so they have different types of powers that we've learned. A thief can steal powers from others. And somewhere down the line, one of his relatives stole shadows from others, and they kind of eat him alive from the inside. And they make him angry, and he can't relax because if he relaxes, then he has these shadows that are basically clawing him from the inside out. They legit killed his dog in the middle of the night whenever he was a kid.
Yes, because they were trying to kill him, but they ended up killing
Yes.
his dog, and like having to learn that at such a young age, because I believe he was only like 5 or 6 when that first happened. To be
Yeah.
5 or 6 and have that amount of pressure already on you is so much. And then of course he didn't really have to have the pressures of the being the prince or anything because he was the second born. Um, but just knowing how dangerous his shadows could be and knowing that he had to control more at such a young age when you should be more carefree, um, and just to have that happen, it just sets him up to not have a good childhood and not having the freedom to let go like a child should. um, and it the amount of pressure he had with these shadows and the fact that his brother, while they were in prison, they were imprisoned, and he's like, I can't let them go, I can't let them go even if it means to save us, tells you how much pressure and how much clawing they did to him.
And then you look at, so you have these parents who have such a high expectation of you, right? And I mean, it's like that when we talk about other kingdom books. You have a prince who the father's going to have higher expectations because they expect so much out of their heir. But Mailer actually had a brother, and he had an older brother, and he had a baby sister, and he ends up telling Galantia about his history, and it's gut-wrenching. You have this little boy who his dad wants him to use his shadows to protect the kingdom, and he ends up unleashing his shadows, and his little sister's head gets crushed by a boulder, and then the entire city is engulfed with shadows, and he's the only one that's alive. So
Well, him
it's
and
de-
his
well,
brother.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's devastating to know that you killed your entire kingdom.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And like knowing that power, and it was even heart-wrenching because like they were being under attack at their home, and then all it took was him seeing that somebody threw a boulder. I'm not sure if it was like thrown or however it happened, and seeing your little sister crushed under the rock and the boulder, and she's no more than single digits, so she's still very young, because they were only like young teenage years, um, and unleashing that power, knowing that you did that to your family, almost made him like become cold and distant and not want to be emotional. It's almost like he realized that if he showed any emotions, that could happen again with those shadows. And I feel like the his father put too much pressure on him, realizing that how deadly those shadows could be, knowing that some of them were stolen. Like only one set of shadows was actually their family line. The other three um, were, stolen. And that in itself, and his dad being like, "You're the best." I don't remember the name that he was called, like he's called with his shadows, but "You're the best ever that we've had." And I'm just over here like, how do you not see that your child's suffering for that?
Yeah. And then, you look at um Galantia and her growth. Um the whole second book, Mailer's basically trying to force her to become his mate, like bond with me. Why won't you just take the bond? Like forcing himself onto her because he wants his power to grow, but at the same time they find out that she's a thief, right? Like she's not a void, she's a thief.
She's a void, but she is a thief at the same time because
Okay.
she's Malar's void, which is why his shadows keep like wanting to
Okay.
protect her. But she's also a thief because she can like wield his shadows.
Right. So like her heart, like the deep ache that she has, her her magic, her void wants hit Mailer's shadows, and she takes from Sebian over and over and over again because he just gives it to her willingly because they love each other. Um
Mm-hmm.
at one point Mailer's like, Sebian, you marry her, you move away, take her far away. I'm giving you to her because she loves you, she doesn't love me. I will be fine. I will deal with the deep ache. And it's just one of those things where, she does end up accepting the bond, and she takes the shadows away from the kingdom. And yeah, I'm not going to go any further with that until later, but um it's just the character development is crazy with those two. um I think Sebian just stays on a
Like
like
plateau. Like
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, he doesn't, there's no downfall to him. He stays where he's at. We do see more of how he loves Galantia and how much he wants to be with her, how he can't even use his own shadow magic because she takes his shadow so much, but he doesn't care because he would gladly help make her stronger, even if he's weaker.
Right. Yeah.
I am back. Sorry about that.
You're good. We're just talking about their character growth.
Oh,
I
okay, I
agree.
got you.
Would you like to talk about their
Oh, you
character
want me to
growth?
elaborate? Oh, okay.
Yes, we did some of it. We can
I
go
mean,
into
I was
their.
listening. It was just trying to figure out what applied to where and who because it could be
It's a
anywhere.
lot.
So,
It is. So we did their growth. What about their like Lindsay? Who did you trust? Like out of Galantia, Malar, and Sebian, like, and why did you trust them over like the other ones?
oddly enough, probably Malir because he never, like, you knew what you were getting. He never told you, trust me. And then for you to trust him, like you knew what you were getting. Like Sabian was a little shady. They were all honestly, don't trust any of them. Just none. Like maybe the raven because they couldn't speak. You know what I mean? And you knew it was a bird. You knew what you were getting. You knew
Yes,
it like shiny things. Like you could trust the bird. That's all you get.
I love it. Yes, I was gonna say if you trust anyone, trust the bird because all they'll do is if you're hurt, they'll give you kisses, they'll send you gifts, and the most they'll do is attack your ankles because they're trying to mate with you.
That
Oh yeah,
explanation was
you
just
are
as good
right.
as the spicy mayo.
Yes. And guys, you will get more than Spicy Mayo in these books.
Oh.
Oh my, there's mayo, but it's not the kind of spice you want it to be, and just be prepared.
Oh, I love it. Like, that's gonna be our trademark is, on a scale of 1 to Spicy Mayo, how
We're
is
gonna
it?
have jars of mayos.
Yes.
Yes.
Now listen, the worst part is me and my husband, we fight about Miracle Whip and mayonnaise at all times because I genuinely don't know what belongs with what. Like, I don't know what salad dressing is like the title of. I think it's like a blanket category and they're all the same thing.
That's too funny. I agree. I wouldn't trust any of them because, like, Galantia, she's too naive to trust. Like, she'll look at you and be like, "Oh, really?" And you could be totally bluffing on what you say. But I know it's
Yeah,
her background.
but I would trust him too, you know what I mean? It would be like, oh my goodness, affection. Yes.
Yes, like with Sebian, like her trusting him was understandable because he was the first one to show her like kindness and telling her, you know, like showing her love and affection in the proper way. Like it was the proper way that she hadn't had growing up. You know, her mom, like, without getting into the spoilers till later, like we found out why her mother was the way she was with Galantia. It did, you know, kind of make Galantia struggle as a teenager, being so boxed in, I guess you would say. In terms of, you know, you can't run, you can't cry, you can't do any of this stuff. Like she was being made to be like this proper, like, cold princess to a kingdom almost. You know, the queen is supposed to be cold and hardened, and it's almost like that's what our mom wanted her to be.
There were supposed to be no weaknesses, emotional, physical, mental, none of it. Just
Right.
complete, solid, steady, and unmovable or shakeable.
And we figure out why she's supposed to be like that because, like, in the first book, she turns into a raven. And then she's like, okay, so somehow she has raven blood. So she's thinking maybe it's her mother. And then it's like, well, why would her dad, this brings up a lot of questions for Galantia of, well, why did my dad marry my mom? And how did she hide this for so long with his hatred towards ravens? Right? And then you just get more and more into it of her being like, well, now I can't trust my parents because they lied to me my whole life after already telling me I can't be emotional, I can't be a child, I can't run, I can't play, I can't, all the stuff she couldn't do. Made it really hard. So we talked about the characters. What about their relationships? The romance portion. Toxic, tragic. I don't think it was a slow burn by any means. Maybe Malir and Galantia, because like he in the first book he did so much to make her hate him, while also like trying to get her to fall in love with him and stuff just so he could break her. But like her Galantia with Sebian was not a slow burn by any means because she like pretty much hopped into his bed and was like, "Here I am." That's the best I can explain.
To be honest, they lost me at the top knot. Like, no, I was kind of out there for them at that point.
Yeah.
But like, other than that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And by that I
I
meant their hairstyle. Like they do a top. I'm not a fan of. What are they? Raven buns, man buns, whatever you want
Raven
to call
buns?
them. I'm
Wait.
sorry. I guess I probably should have added context. I finished that out loud. It was a thought.
Okay.
I didn't finish internally. I'm sorry.
No, listen. You said top knot, and all I could think of was whenever Kat sent that screenshot of Bulbous. And I'm like, wait,
And
wait,
that
are we
was
talking
what
about
I
this?
was like,
Are we
wait a minute.
talking about this?
I started that whole thing internally, and nobody has any idea what I mean.
I understood, and that's probably telling
Did
you.
it? I was going the other way because I could just remember the bulbous part
No,
of the
it was
book that you sent
absolutely
us.
their hairstyles.
Did you not look up any character art of these men?
Listen,
I
no,
mean,
because I have the books, and like when I
Oh,
ordered them, I seen the display
yeah,
cover, and I was
yeah.
like,
that's
ugh.
true. I didn't even
I like the
realize.
birds.
I didn't
Yes.
even realize on Shadow So Cruel they had, like, I'm pretty sure it's Malir on the cover, and I was just like, that's how you're portraying him as, and I'm like, oh.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, and then they actively described him, or both
Yeah.
of them, with
Yeah.
a half top knot, full top knot, and I'm sitting here like, I don't even wear that hairstyle. I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, and then when they switched to the braids, I was like, oh, thank goodness, I can understand this.
They
Like,
still braided with a top knot.
Braids. Oh,
I
the braids.
I love the braids. I kind of might have skimmed over the
braids.
whole, like, her braiding Malaire's hair while it was still in the top knot, because I'm like, that's gotta be hideous. Like,
Well, her braids weren't that good, but playing with each other's hair was a sign of affection and keeping, just like their ravens would, pick at the feathers and clean each other. Like doing that in your
yes.
human form was a form of affection. And so
And
whenever they were talking about that, I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
if I remember correctly, I don't think she actually braided Sebian's hair. I think it was just Malir. So you know how,
Uh,
like, she would do the cold toe to Sebian as a way of affection. I almost thought like that was the braiding of the hair was just a her and Malir thing, as a way for her to like relationship growth with him. Um, because I don't believe she did it with Sebian, because he usually had his, like, he was usually the first one up, so he was all put together before they woke up.
yes, I can in fact say that Google says she does not braid Sebian's hair.
So like that's super sweet that like when she decides to braid his hair, at first, at first he was like, oh my goodness, why are you touching me? And then all of a sudden it just became this daily with him, and that like showed him that it's okay for you to show affection to me. It's okay for me to do the same to you. Um, and I think that was like the turning point in their relationship, because this happened, probably halfway through the book, where she was still like, I don't know if I can trust Malir. I don't know like where this is going. Um, and like we knew that she was bonding with him just to, at first it was just to do right by the people, to make them both stronger, to rule the court, um, and things like that. So like to see that she started the braiding with him was like, okay, I kind of can get it now. And now he's opening up to her and telling her about his past, and like that like absolutely broke her, I think, in terms of like hearing how much they were put through. But again, she also broke him when he found out what she did to his brother, which was a couple of slides away. That's a couple of topics away.
I know, like the rest of the stuff that I have to wait till like the final segment, or it's gonna ruin everything, and I don't want to do that.
It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna go into world building.
I know, I can wait.
Sorry,
Usually
my kids
no,
are
but
in
I can
here.
wait.
Mitha went to work, so now I'm on parent duty as well. World building. Who would like to start on world building?
Linz, do you have anything for world building? Well,
Uh, I guess like I do for a little bit of it. If I was to describe the overall feel, I guess it would be a little bit like grimdark, the way they made it feel like kind of deep, intense. Like your surroundings definitely felt the vibe of wherever you are reading in the book. Like if you were in a despair part, you're probably surrounded by just a despair outland part of their world, I would say. But I'm not sure how you would actually put it into words.
I feel
Just
like every
burnt,
location,
gray, kind of
yeah,
ashy, just
that's
cinders.
Yeah.
and then you have like the cliff and with in Tidestone, like I in my head I imagine it being this like overcast sky all the time, and then you get to Tidestone and it's got the waves beating up against the cliff and this big wall with people standing on it, um, and whatnot, and but it always has that like gray haze to it.
Yeah, I kind of pictured it like in Lord of the Rings, the last book when they're showing the castle, like the last battle, and that Overlord falls off, and that's what I picture is like this huge like cliff like that. And I'm just looking out, but it's like gray and foggy, and I mean,
Yeah, I kind of think of like Silent Hill, but not to the intensity of that fog. You know what I mean? Like a little more like I'm on top of a mountain, not I'm kind of trying to escape hell.
Mm,
Intense.
more like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
yes, like in winter, like without the snow though.
Yes, yes.
Like you,
That's the part that makes
Yeah,
winter
yeah.
winter.
I know, but like Winterfell,
Winter
like
is coming.
yes,
Yes.
like even describing, like I think the only
Like look at the picture. That pretty much is what it feels like.
yes,
Yes.
and there's
Yes.
only the only time you really hear of like anything besides how gray and gross it is, because I was just like, this is a horrible place to live if there's no sunshine, was like the day when Malir first saw Galantia and realized she was his enemy's daughter. Like, he described it as the sun was shining because she was on the coast and she was able to run, and that was like her first time of feeling like freedom, because her nanny was like, "Oh, you shouldn't be running," and she's just like, just 2 more minutes. I know I'm not supposed to be running, just 2 more minutes." And that day it just was like sunny and everything. But every time the author's describing the book, it does look like this background, like the fog coming through, and dark and gray, and it just seemed a miserable place to live. Like, and I understand that ravens, like, it's really hard for them to fly over like open water, especially in the rain and wind and stuff. And I'm like, couldn't it be more sunny then if they needed sunshine to fly? Like,
Then it would be a cheery book and it wouldn't be as depressing and
that is true.
scary.
That is true. But
But
it did get better towards the end. Like, it did talk about like um once Galantia was able to get rid of the shadows, like they got to see sunshine and green. Like, she had never seen green grass. Um, I don't think she'd ever seen like green grass because it was either the coast or like the cobblestones or her room. Like, that's so
Ye-
depressing for a child.
I don't think I would have survived their life at all as a child, whether either or any of them, honestly.
Yeah, because even Sebian, like, there wasn't a lot to his like childhood, because he doesn't meet Malir till after Malir escapes from the dungeons, and like he doesn't really get to talk about his childhood much, so we don't even know what his childhood was like.
no, we don't learn a whole lot about his background at all, actually.
I would say, like, world building wise, this was supposed to be like, you know, not so much like the world building itself, like what the world was. It was more like social hierarchy, the political, like the magic, and there wasn't a lot of world building like in Akatar. Like they each had a different court or everything. There was some descriptions of what like the castles looked like and the rooms and the ocean and the coast, but with the world building here, it was more about the political structures and how everyone has their own place, whether it's the bottom of the tier, which apparently was every raven, whether you were like Malir, who's the king, or prince. I mean, I believe they still call him the prince, even though he's like the leader. They still call him like Prince Malir. They never actually call him a king. Um, but even him as a prince to this kingdom, he, compared to like the humans, he's still on the social bottom of the social ladder. Like they are dirt pretty much. And that's very unfortunate for a whole species, kingdom, clan to feel like that. Like it's just not, it's just so
They're
devastating.
Yeah, there I mean, the with it, the political structure is definitely hierarchy matters and it's power driven. It's hungry, power driven. Um they like to be it likes to be ruled with strength and control. There's no fairness really at all in any of the kingdoms that we see. So and the hierarchy is huge. You know, there's no balance of hierarchy. It's you're stronger, you rule. That's it. Everybody else, tough luck. You know, those with power, they dominate, which means anybody else is used and abused and controlled however those with the power see fit.
Which is how Galantia came about to be in this love triangle.
Unfortunately. But I mean, it ends up being really the path she's supposed to take anyways.
Yeah, and then she gets to climb the social hierarchy because her and Malir get to be at the very top because they get rid of um, her. They get rid of her father, and then they get rid of her ex. So we find out she gets the wool pulled out from under her, the rug. I think I combined two of those, but anywho, um, like she realizes that he's not the guy she thought he was. Like she knew she wasn't attracted to her ex fiance, like number four or whatever. I don't know. They want to marry her off so badly, but they he did some awful stuff, like to these ravens, like not just in terms of like with the men, but children and women and like that shows the political structure of, oh, I'm gonna be the prince or king or whatever of this kingdom. I'm gonna do whatever I can to you because you're beneath me because you're a raven. Like it's just, yeah, it was a lot. Like the world building in terms of political structure and social hierarchy, like we read about it from like history classes, and we read about it every time there's a kingdom style series. But I think this is the most I've had political and social hierarchy in a series. But that could also be because I haven't read all of Akatar. Yeah.
So, would you survive if you were a part of the world?
No, because me and you would automatically be considered ravens because we have
You're not wrong.
dark hair and we, yeah.
Lindsay, you'd be the only one that would survive.
It was nice meeting you, Lindsay. Good luck on the
I
adventure.
I promise you, I would not have survived at all. Like the second they were to tell me, like, no, I got to fear birds and stuff now. Absolutely not.
I
No,
think
no,
if
thank you.
I was
Do I
gonna
gotta fear
say
myself? Like, am I a bird? Do I gotta fear birds? What
you
am I
would
afraid of? I'm just
you would
out.
lose your life by trying to rescue us from the dungeons.
yes.
No, I have the defense mechanism of a puddle. I would just be out. Like, round one, I would eliminate myself.
She'd be eaten off that cliff.
That is my survival technique. Like, I got you. I will save you the hassle. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, me and Luna would have been you know, staked up over here on the
I
pyre.
know, you poor thing.
They would have eaten us.
They would have. And even if they were like, "Oh, you guys just have dark hair," been like, "Cool." You got,
Witches!
yeah. As soon as they're like, "Here, have some raven," I would have been like, I'm a vegetarian. No thanks."
No, thank you.
Wait, did I totally miss the part where they ate a raven?
In the
Yeah, and
first book, in the first,
Oh my gosh, I did not remember
first
that.
3 chapters, they
yeah,
arrive to the village and they beat that woman so much that she turns into her raven, and then people are grabbing it and like
plucking it,
tearing
yeah.
plucking it and tearing the heads off with their teeth and all sorts of stuff, and it's just very gruesome. The
And
first
then
very
what was
gruesome.
left, because they each have 5 ravens, and what
Yeah.
was left, they turned into raven stew and fed to the villagers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that totally went over my head.
No, thank you. Mm-mm.
I'm good with that one. Like that that's gonna lead into plot twists because I know we've been jonesing for this slide since we started this podcast because spoiler time.
It's
And
been really
Lindsay,
hard to talk around the spoilers.
I'm sorry, the plot twist shouldn't have been the first thing we talked about. It had to be before final thoughts. And Lindsay, since I know she had most of her notes on this, I'm going to let her take the lead on what was the biggest twist that you found in Shadow So Cruel.
I don't know what I would actually label as the biggest plot twist. I have a really hard time like predicting the endings, but if I was someone that had a really bad pattern recognition while reading this book, it would be the fact that Sabian dies. But at
Yeah.
the same time, like, you know what I mean? Like, you see it coming, but you don't.
No.
But I'm not sure, like, I'm not sure if I was supposed to elaborate there. Like,
Yeah.
I don't.
I would say my biggest plot twist was Malir actually killing Lorne, and then her man taking Galantia to be captured by like her father, and you know it was kind of swoon worthy of like I'm gonna avenge my my mate or whatever by taking your mate and giving her to the enemy. And I was just over here like, how could this dude do this? He's a raven. Like, he didn't just betray, like, Malir, he betrayed his whole, like, kingdom. And I was just like, I did not see that one coming. I probably should have, knowing how the book is, but I didn't see that coming that he was going to take Galantia. And he ended up dying and going with being with his mate anyways, I guess. So kudos to him.
Plot twist. Galantia's mom actually helps her before she dies.
That was also another plot twist, but
Also, if I can, like, back at the beginning, whenever you were talking about her, like, being the mom, like, plot twist is, she lost 13 babies,
yeah.
13 pregnancies. She buried 13 babies, and Galantia was given to her by her mother to protect her. Crazy.
That was a plot twist because I honestly thought her mom hid her lineage. Like building up to this, I thought that was so we find out that um Galantia is not blood related to her, I guess, adopted parents now is what we'll call them. Adoption probably isn't anything that happens there. Um, but Galantia is completely Raven. Like, her dad was Raven, her mom was Raven. Um, and when her adopted mom lost another child, she was like, my husband's gonna kill me. Like, at this point, she was desperate. She had lost, they had been trying, she had been losing them, these children of hers. Um, and this woman comes along and, like, knows, like, how Galantia would be raised, being raised as a raven. She'd seen it, and she's like, "Here, take her, take my baby." And it's not because she didn't want Galantia; it's because she loved her so much. She wanted to give her a better life. And then this, her adopted Galantia's adopted mom is, um, showing her love the best way she could of, like, I'm trying to protect you, which we don't read about until this book. So we're like, this woman is a complete witch. Like, how do you treat your child like this? To not show emotions, not to play or anything. And now that we've read book 2, it's more understandable that, okay, you were protecting her. Knowing that ravens are emotional creatures. Most of them change into ravens when they get extremely emotional, whether it's anger, happy, anything like that. So Galantia's mother's protecting her by not letting her, like, show weakness in terms of emotion. And then, like, that last, her sacrifice basically to Galantia showed the ultimate mother's love in a way that Galantia understood, in terms of, um, just the sacrifice she made. Like, she ended up being hung, and because she was hiding her daughter, and it showed that she actually did love Galantia. She just was trying to keep her emotionally in check to protect this big secret Galantia had.
Yeah, I was trying to think if there was another one. I'm just like, the whole thing was just kind of a twist.
Yeah, like, the whole, like, Malir sending troops to, you know, to start war versus, um, why he was gonna send Galantia there to try and do a rescue mission. Turns out, no, he was there to start war. Like, he was doing his revenge plot now, and he was ready to go, be damned if Galantia is willing to help out. And this whole book, there was just plot twist on plot twist. And each plot twist led to, like, everything changing. Um, and it's just so hard to pick, like, the biggest plot twist because there were so many.
Do we have a most shocking betrayal?
Um, I wouldn't call it a betrayal per se, but the fact that Sebian was told that was either him or Malir that had to die. Um, I don't know if you remember, like, Sebian had dinner with his bonds,
Asker.
Asker, and I can't remember the mate's name.
I want to say Marlene, but I don't know that that's right.
Um, and he had dinner with them after they, like, um, realized that he actually, was kind of uncomfortable because they blamed him for stepping away from his post. And that's how their daughter, his mate, died. And it was even more shocking because we find out in this book that she was actually pregnant. And from his side is that he stepped away from his post because she was at that nauseous stage of like she could only eat one specific food and he could only get it at the tavern. And so he knew she needed to eat, went to the tavern by stepping away from his post, and then he comes back and I believe it's a village, um, was just gone.
On
Like
fire.
it was on fire. And Asker's, so going back to when Sebian goes to their house, he tells them the truth. He's like, I wasn't drunk that night. I went to go get her dinner essentially because she was pregnant and that was all she could stand was that food. And Asker, um, he can see the future, but his wife can see the past. Or I might have that vice versa. And realizes that that was actually the truth, that, Sebian wasn't drinking. But Sebian going into the battle and realizing that he was going to die was not so much a betrayal, I think, but at the same time, he should have, like, said that to them as well to see if maybe there was a way to work around it. So that he didn't have to die. They could have definitely had a love triangle. It would have been fine.
I mean, I think that leads into like, I think if Sebian would have told Mailer, then Mailer would have taken the arrow, regardless, because he knew how much Galantia loved him. But Sebian gave that up and he chose to save Mailer because he had already experienced that deep ache from losing a mate, losing a bonded mate, knowing how you never find another one again. That love is gone. And so he didn't want Galantia or Mailer to go through that. It's very chivalrous, really, but also can be seen as a betrayal because he could have warned them, but I feel like he set them up uh, very well to fall in love with
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah, I feel like I should have seen it coming more because it seemed like he all of a sudden started backing off from Galantia and almost pushing her towards Malir in terms of like, you know, like I stated, they did do the bonding ritual and it was very romantic. Like they did it just by themselves, dancing, and it was just like the sweet romantic scene. And Sebian was away from them just almost like a guard. But it did feel like he almost was, like you said, pushing them and taking a step back. And I felt like that should have been something in my brain that was like, okay, why are you all of a sudden pushing her towards him so hard? Why are you, like, this is totally opposite of what you were doing before. But I also think this is when he noticed the growth of, like, him and Mailer actually had like a deep conversation, and Sebian realizes like Mailer actually like does love her and is, especially when Mailer's like, I want you to take her away. Like that scene of Mailer saying I'm done, like it's about her happiness, I know she loves you, really told Sebian that Mailer's growth was on, like, his revenge and was on the mend, and his trauma was mending because he realized like Galantia was it for him, but he was going to sacrifice that bond for her to be with who she loved the most at the time. So like it was a very emotional scene too. Like that leads into like a moment that broke my heart was that whole scene where Semyon dies, and then it goes into um, Malir and Galantia waking up after the battle, and then her finding the bracelet and realizing that he made, like, Malir made that bracelet for her, that his raven been trying to mate her from book one when she found that blue ribbon. No, and I almost wanted to make a tree with a bunch of blue ribbons on it, because that's such an, like, turning point of the both books coming together. Him playing, like, Malir playing off uh somebody else is trying to court you when he clearly knows it's his raven, especially where that tree with those blue ribbons are outside your window. Like, you knew who it was. You tried to pass it off as somebody else, because even Semyon didn't know the blue ribbon significance. Like, that was a shock. He had his suspicions of who the raven was, but he couldn't confirm it. And I'm like, have you never been in his bedroom? Have you never looked out his window and seen a giant tree with blue ribbons on it? Like, that whole scene was just so emotional for me.
Linz, did you have an emotional scene that stuck with you? Did you have just one? Or two? Or five?
Or the whole book. The whole book is fine too.
I'm trying to think here, and honestly, the only thing I can really remember from, like, the second book, and I can't even remember if it was just her and Malir talking, but it was, like, the most heartfelt, like, interaction between I can't even remember who it was. I can't remember where I was going. Just cancel that.
Canceled? What's my camera?
Yeah, I
Oh.
got nothing. It was there, but that thought just took off.
And that is okay.
It just
I
flew
think,
like a raven. It fits.
yeah. I think that one of mine, I have a few. I'm trying to find myself. I'm trying to find my camera. I'm like, hey, in the little box. Hey, there I am. It's moved. It's been moved from where it originally sits, and so I'm just like been messing with it this whole time. Like, where am I supposed to sit? Because this is not normally where I sit. That's what happens when I ask my husband to set things up for me. Love you though. Thank you. I think I want to say that. So there are a few. Actually, I think there are only like three. But I want to say that one of the first ones that sticks with me is when Galantia is taking the shadows away from the city. And all of a sudden, she says, I step and I look down and it's a body, it's a dead body. The smell is overwhelming. The shadows have mummified this entire city full of people. So she is walking through this city with everyone, just having all of these mummified bodies around her. And she has to stop the first time because she can't continue through with it. It's too much. And then, she makes herself go back because she just sees how important it is to Mailer, and she doesn't quite understand why it's so important. And then as soon as she clears the shadows enough to go up those stairs to that temple or overlook or wherever it was that they were, he automatically runs and is lifting this boulder up off of his little sister's dead body, and just holding her and wailing, and it's such an emotional time for him. um, and then we talk about when because Galantia is a void, his void, and a thief, she steals his shadows from him as much as possible. And he talks about how it's a weight lifted off of him, how he's happy, he's calm, um, he can see the light at the end of the tunnel basically, because she has taken all of that darkness away from him, and how he loves her, and he loves that she can make him be a better person because of that. And then the last page of the book where you have Galantia, and you have Mailer's ravens flying off, and Galantia's ravens have Sabian's Anole flying with them because Sebian had asked Galantia to drain him and take his shadows as he passed away. So they had his magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That, yeah, I agree. Like, those scenes, I was literally getting, like, chills as you were explaining them. I was just like, yep,
Yeah.
remembering them. Yeah, like, there were so many, like, jam-packed emotional scenes from, like, the halfway point of the book to the ending. It seemed like every other chapter was an emotional scene, and those three really hit. I think another one that hit was when, like Lindsay said, Malerian, like, finally opened up to Galantia about what was done to him. Um, Probably didn't go too much into depth because it was emotionally, like, trauma heavy of what was done to him in those cells. And I think at that point he wanted to not, like, relive it, but he wanted to get the point across of how he came to be, like, revenge driven and cold and distant. And that, just talking about what his shadows were like when he was a child. And I don't think it was Malaria. I think it was Galantia and Asker talking. Um, when she gets more insight of, how Asker saw the change in Malir from a child of being happy-go-lucky to being the first one there when his dog gets killed by his shadows, to all of a sudden he just stops laughing and playing. And and then when he comes back, Asker's, like, still there and sees this change of um Malir being imprisoned, because we don't know the duration of how long he was actually imprisoned and finally escaped. Like, we read about it, these scenes that of what's happened to him, but we don't know exactly how long he was imprisoned. We know it's enough that um his brother dies and all this, the rapes and the torture and all this stuff happens. um but it could be a couple of months, it could be years, like, we don't know. um and that was another emotional scene, was just reading, like, what Galanti is hearing from, like, Asker's point of view of how this child that was, like, carefree and happy is, like, these shadows are draining him. And now she's starting to see it. Like, there's a day that she couldn't get to his shadows for 3 days because he, like, went off, or um he went off to go do business, and he came back and he was, like, cold and distant again. As soon as she drained his shadows, he was, like, happy and seemed more carefree. And that just tells you how much weight he bared with those shadows for even a couple of days, let alone his whole life.
Yeah. And then, I mean, one thing we haven't touched on is what Doofus does to Galantia whenever he kidnaps her. She's put in the cabin of the boat and raped by her should have been fiance. Um, and they try to break her, but she doesn't break, and she doesn't let that define her. Um,
Yeah,
like
because
she's stronger than that, and she doesn't let that trauma define what her next motive is, and how she is. She tells Malir, it's okay, like, that's not me, I'm not going to let it consume me.
yeah, and I think that, like, that helped him get past his trauma, because I don't want to say basically what happened to him happened to her, because he got it way worse. Um, but, like, she understood some of what he went through, because it wasn't just her getting raped by Doofus. It was the whole crew. Like,
Yeah.
he let anybody have their way with her. And she even tried to escape. Like, instead of being a victim, she's like, I need to escape. I know I need to escape. And she tries. Um, and it doesn't end up working out. She ends up having to be in a captive. But um, she does try. She tries to escape. Her character growth has made it from her being so vulnerable to suddenly being like, she's in survival mode of, I'm not going to die. I have like Sebian, I have Malir, I have my clan. Because at this point, it's towards the end of the book, so then we know that happy ending should hopefully be coming. And this is like that peak of right before the ending of a book, and we see her become the strong woman that's willing to fight for her kingdom, because at this point she knows, like, this is my kingdom, I'm going to help Malia rule and things like that. And she just tells them after this all happened, she's like you said, I'm not going to let it define me, you shouldn't let it define you either. We're going to overcome this as a couple, and I know you can do it. I have the faith in you and the trust in you to do that.
Right. Lynn, do you have anything different? You might have had to step away for a minute.
She might have.
That's okay. We love her nonetheless. They got a lot. They got lots of stuff going on.
They do, but we can go into final thoughts and the ratings of how, like, the overall rating. Luna, what did you give this as a rating out of how many feathers?
I'd probably still give it 4.5 feathers.
That's what I was thinking too. They're just, and I would have given it 5. I just think there was just too much trauma and too much. There's just too much trauma and emotional damage, and like the political was just a little too much versus just letting it be like a good book, I guess. Like, there just seemed to be too much of the heavier stuff without being a lot of lighter to kind of break it up.
Yeah, I feel like, and I don't like it when authors rush the ending of a book, but I feel like as soon as, that last battle happened and everything just kind of it ended. And I'm very much one of those people where I um would like there to be more to the book. Like, I want to know what happens afterwards.
I
I'm
always love an
sorry. I
epilogue.
was definitely here. I just couldn't touch the keyboard. I was downstairs just trying to take care of something. Apologies.
You're
I said you got
good.
lots going on. You're fine. You're fine. You're
You're
fine.
good. We're doing our feather ratings, but I agree. Like, I did not like how the ending ended by any means. Like, I wanted even just one more paragraph of him leaving the dungeon and going back to Galantia and eating the stewed apples, like, or like an epilogue of like a year down the road when they're building up the kingdom and they're given proper burials to their people on the island, and you know they're it ended the ending ended too soon after the battle and Sebian, and that's, like you said, it just ended too soon.
Yes.
Linz, how many feathers did you give the book?
I would, out of what? How many's like the max?
So I did out of 5 feathers.
Oh, it's definitely like a 4.7 out of 5 at least. It was very, very well, like, put together. it was a bit exaggerated, and it probably could have actually be pulled back a little bit to make it a little bit more like smoothly, I would say. But yeah, I was overall pleased with the book and the feel and the vibe and everything like that. I would definitely read it again, probably.
Yeah, that's what me and Luna were saying. Like it, there was so much emotional to it, like the trauma and the devastation, that it needed more to smooth it out. It also felt like, with the two relationships, it almost seemed like it was two books sometimes.
Because it went back and forth so much.
Yeah. And it wasn't even like the present and past. It was just everyone like having three point of views. But there was even times when like Asker had a chapter point of view, and his mate, I think, like there's a lot of going back and forth. So who should avoid this book and who should read this book? And I know that's usually a me question, but I'm going to ask you guys.
It's a good question you ask.
Yeah.
I would probably say if you do not know what the big three like trigger warnings are for dark romance, and you just slightly put that in there, if you have an issue with anything that pops up in that category of one, two, or three, don't read these books. I do
Nope.
not recommend it for
No.
you guys, okay?
No.
Like there is thousands of books you can choose from. You don't have to read just because other people are or you see it and it's popular and it's pushed. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Your options are limitless. However, if you are like a veteran in the dark romance category and you want something a little bit more darker, but you don't want to go like pitch black down the hallway, I definitely recommend this. It is definitely a good read. It is a good story. It's I just wouldn't recommend it to everybody, probably. I would
Yeah.
have to have a conversation and see how cool you get real quick.
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely want to touch on is like if it's not for you and you're seeing it all on like your For You pages on TikTok and things like that, don't feel pressure to read it. Like this, like Lynn said, if
Don't go in blind.
yes,
Definitely research this first.
as someone that started going down like dark romances like about a year ago or so, I would not have been able to handle this. Um, Back then. Like, if you're just starting to dabble or starting to get into dark romance, this is not the book for you, um, because it is so trauma heavy. And when we say trauma heavy, we mean trauma heavy. Um, for adult, like there's trauma for in the child category, there's trauma in the adult category, women, men, like very trauma heavy.
Now, if you like a good trauma bound MMC and a lot of the spicy mayo, please read.
Yes, like
It's your kind of book.
yeah, yes. This is about 3 to 4 mayos out of spicy mayo is how we're gonna rate that. Um, let's just say it can get quite graphic. So if that's your alley and you are um, can get through like the trigger warnings, this book is for you. And I think that is a good time to wrap this up. What do you girls think?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. So, thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. It's always a blast diving into these stories with you.
Next episode, we might go a little lighter, or maybe not. And if you enjoyed today's dive into darkness, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and stick around because we've got more stories to unravel. And join the Discord. Oh my gosh, we didn't put the link in. No one did it for us.
It should have worked. Hold on.
Where are they whenever we need them to post the Discord? Ugh.
I got
Scores?
it. I got it. Well, Myth is at work, or he would have totally been in there. He had to go to work. But see, mine is a proper Discord link.
Mine is not. Mine is not. Oh, you cannot hold that over my head for the remainder of the day. You have to live with me.
Remember our discussion last night, Sam? That's always a possibility for our next book. Book background.
No.
So there's the link. We do have a book club category, I guess you could say, where if there's any books you recommend us to read, or you just want to talk about books in general, join the Discord, and it'll be right there. It's under the Friendly Hub subcategories. And yes, we will see you tentatively in 2 weeks. And I do believe we're going to do what we call a lighter chaos episode, where we each take a book that we're currently reading or obsessed with, and we're going to discuss it, each of our books.
Yeah, and if you give me a book to read that I don't want to read, I'm going to come out, right? I'm going to be like, nah, sorry, don't make me DNF a book. I've only done it once.
I
You're
don't know.
doing
I'm
better
not
than I
afraid to
am.
DNF a book. I think
So-
mentally I DNF a book when I actually finish it. And my brain's
I'm
like,
not afraid to hurt-
technically, we checked out in this book for a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not afraid to hurt your feelings, chat, so bring it on.
Yeah. But bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Alright, Discord is off, so it's just our song. I was playing with one of my pens and I broke the little flip part off and it went flying towards Smith during the podcast. Should be playing.
Curl up, hit play, let the pages unwind. Spice on our tongues, all the trouble we find. We're kissing and killing in kingdoms we crave, falling for monsters we swear we'll never say. We're the Scribe Wives of HRI, reading too late, but we're still gonna dive into blades